Okay, so I've got a great job opportunity for you. You're going to have to work for free, but everybody's going to want to hire you after this. You're going to get such great exposure. So most people in the creative industry have come across the idea of working for free or working for exposure. So this idea of exposure, that you work for someone for free and then they pass your name on to loads of people and the offers of work come flooding in. So although you're working for free now, in the future, you're going to get lots of clients, lots of work, loads of money. It's going to be wonderful. So in this episode, I'm going to try and answer the question whether it's okay to work for free or whether you should always be charging for your services. So the idea of working for exposure certainly has its critics, and I've seen lots of comments from people, things like, you're worth more than exposure, you wouldn't expect a plumber to work for exposure, never ever work for free, it degrades the whole entire industry. And I can really appreciate where these people are coming from. The more people that are prepared to work for free, the lower the prices that people are expecting to pay for a product. And if you're a professional in the industry and your work is of a quality, professional standard, and you're trying to find work and you're competing against people that are offering work for free, then that can be extremely frustrating. It's often the case that those people who are working for free are nowhere near as good as you, but the people who are asking for the work don't know that sometimes. Well, of course there's a counter-argument to this, and there is the chance that you might have some exposure from a job, or exposure to clients, at least new clients and new work. And it is actually the case that doing some work for free can sometimes lead you on to other clients or that specific client that you did the work for free in the first place. Now it's worth thinking about the creative industry for a moment. It's an industry where most people go into it because they have a real interest and they'd like to do this work because they enjoy it. And that kind of enjoyable work means there's a huge, large workforce. So purely on a sort of business studies level, there's a supply and demand situation going on where there's lots of supply but little demand. So those people that are demanding work have a huge bunch of people to choose from. So it is extremely tough finding work, and you can understand why some people are prepared to work for free in the chance that they will get more work from that client. And sometimes they work for free because they know that piece of work will be seen by lots of people and therefore they will get lots of exposure. I think there's certainly times in this industry where you will have to work for free. If you are just starting out or you're a student, you're going to be struggling to find any work because your skill level's at a base level. So you will need to go out and find people to work for, and often you will have to work for free. If you can get any money at all doing that, then you're doing really well. If you're at the other level and you're a master of your art, you're very skilled and can produce quality work quite quickly, then fair enough, you don't want to be charging nothing for your work. But everybody has to look at their current situation. So if you're sitting back and you're looking for work and you're struggling to find work, even if you're at a high skill level and you're applying to lots of different places for freelance work, for permanent jobs, and you're getting nothing back, then maybe you do need to take any opportunity that comes your way. I think I would prefer to be doing that than to giving up completely on my profession and changing professions. But again, it's a supply and demand situation, which is hard to hear sometimes. Some companies might over-demand and expect you to do loads of weeks' work for absolutely nothing. I would always expect to get some sort of expenses, minimum, and if it's going to take a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, then you really have to weigh up very carefully whether this is really an exposure opportunity and whether there's real clients out there after this, and whether you can even afford to take that much time for no money at all. You could look at the positive aspects of the project if there are any, like, is it developing your skills in any way? Is it maybe taking you down a new avenue and developing your skills in a new area that you hadn't looked at before and therefore helping you in some way? Will you be working with lots of different people and therefore maybe extending your client base? If they know you're easy to work with, then they may work with you in the future. And really think about the work and the type of exposure it's actually going to give you. Is your name going to be on that product, for example? How many people will it really be distributed to? It's worth taking a close look at the client and do your research to see whether there are these opportunities. If they're a very big company, then why on earth are they asking you to work for free? That would be your main question and my main question. And I would possibly argue that they may be the sort of company that just ask one person to do something for free, then move on to the next person, and just keep getting things for free all the time. In that case, there's no chance of exposure or gaining more clients. But perhaps there's someone in a big company who's taking a bit of a risk and wants to show what this new avenue or 3D artistry can do for the company. Therefore, maybe there's a chance of pushing your way into that company with your skills. So let's say it's an architectural company and they're perhaps used to having very sort of CAD-based technical drawing artists to do all their drawings, but actually they're going to take a chance and go for a 3D artist who hasn't supposedly got this technical background, but maybe they can make things look amazing and realistic, which perhaps these other ones can't do. And they're taking a chance there. That might be an avenue worth trying out, getting into, maybe doing one piece of work and show them what you can do. You might get the chance to work for a small startup company. Now they're not so bad because obviously they're on the initial rungs, so their purse strings are tight, but you can come in, help them out, and you probably will be rewarded for more work if it's available in the future. That's something I've done quite a few times. I've worked with someone who's just starting out, and often that does lead to other work. Even if their company didn't make it, they pass your name on to other people and say that you're someone worth working with and easy to work with, easy to communicate, and you do a great job. I've often done that with video work in the past. Whereas 3D work, I sometimes get asked to do certain game models for people because they're a programmer and I'm an artist. And sometimes I think, well, maybe we should team up. I'm working with a person at the moment called Andy, who you may have heard of before in previous vlogs, and we're working on some game stuff at the moment. But I'm lucky enough to be in a position to be able to do that where I've got other stable work along the side. And I think I get on quite well with Andy, and his game idea is quite interesting and exciting, and the sort of game that I'd like to work on. But perhaps there's people you know who are just starting out, and your 3D skills could help them out tremendously. And it's often in those cases where you really get to know a person, get to know a client, that they will try and find work for you afterwards. I've also done bits and pieces of charity work, and I've found that's quite successful. If people know you're willing to do that, they know that you're a nice sort of person to work with, and therefore they'll ask other people for work for you, and they kind of become your advert and your promotion. There are strategies to getting some pay with people who are hoping to get work for free. Like I say, bare minimum, get expenses, because it can be expensive if you're driving off to places, or simple things like batteries, having to eat out on the road, and so forth. If it's someone who you know can't pay the full price or has to have a discount, then be clear that it's a discount. Give your full prices, but say this is a discount for a startup or for initial contact or whatever it might be. Because when they ask you for more work, you can come in with your full price and say, well, now you know what I'm worth. You can expect to pay me what I'm worth. In my experience, it's been a fairly positive thing where I'm working for people for free, but I have received other work from them, or they've found me some new clients and been promotion for me. It's not always been the case. I have done free work for people. They've been very appreciative, but it hasn't really led to anything else, and there was no more work from them. So to sum up, in my opinion, I do think there are times when working for free is okay, and it can lead to more clients and or exposure. But there are certain rules that are worth sticking to. The first thing is, do your research on that client and make sure it's a realistic project and there are some sort of prospects of getting something more from it. Or at the least, maybe it's a charity or a startup that you're helping out with. Use the opportunity to develop yourself as much as possible. Where possible, call the shots in the project, make it a portfolio piece, make it a project and direction that you want to go in. And if that's not possible, then maybe the project's not for you. If it's going to take up lots of your time, then you really have to consider hard whether it's really worth it. If at any point you're turning down bread and butter work in order to do this project in case of bigger exposure, I wouldn't suggest doing that. So in summary, I would suggest it can be a positive thing. In my experience, it's been fairly positive, but this is all my opinion. There are people out there who would really strongly disagree with me. I'll try and post some links in the description about people who've talked about this topic as well, because it can be an interesting one to research. And whilst we're on the subject of doing stuff for free, maybe you'd like to join in a competition and have your work on the wall of fame. Yes, get across to the Discord server. The current competition is heroes and villains. I should say heroes or villains actually, because you can do one or the other or both if you like. As long as it's 3D and creative in some way, then that's brilliant. Unfortunately, it's difficult for me to accept entries via email now because there's quite a few entries coming in. So if you could get across the Discord server and post them in the final submissions, then we have an automated way of collecting them now, so it should make it easier for me to run through all the people and choose a winner. And as always, comment in the description with your thoughts on the topic of should you work for free. Maybe post a story about where it hasn't worked or where it has worked, and we can share and discuss and get across to the Discord server where you can join in the chat with like-minded people, maybe discuss your situations of where you've worked for free, where it hasn't worked and where it has worked over there as well. And thanks for watching.